Would you like to have your query letter critique, but you don't want to pay to have that happen? It can be done for free, but it will be public out here on all my socials. My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. Information on how to submit will be at the end of the video. Please remember there is a real live person on the other side of this query, and so I am going to endeavor to be constructive, not destructive, and nobody jump into the comments and tell them to just self-publish. That's not how any of this works. Let's all be nice. Let's jump in. Lost at Low Tide, 57,000 words, is a middle-grade contemporary fantasy story that follows 10-year-old Tilde Woodward on a Studio Ghibli-style adventure in the Pacific Northwest. That is an excellent pitch. Notice that she is not comparing this story to I'm sorry, I don't know why I just assumed the gender of the person here. This author has not said this is a comp here. They're just saying like this is sort of the vibe that the story is. Word count is great for this age group and this genre here. Age of the character matters to the story and matters when we are talking about middle grade. 10 is very different than 11. So this is a great pitch. Title is good. All of this is great. Tilde knows everything important. Oh, actually, I'm just now noticing like this big paragraphopotamus here. I'm going to recommend that you break this up. 2 to 4 paragraphs is what we are looking for the plot summary. People are reading this all on an electronic device and they hate big long paragraphs, big blocks of text like this. So break this up. Tilde knows everything important, from where to find the oldest cedar tree in the forest to what time of day to visit tide pools. What she doesn't know is why she has to leave her hometown and move to the city. I am going to warn you that this is a super, super, super common trope for middle grade. That is not necessarily a bad thing. Probably about 50% of the middle grade that I see features a character who is moving across the country or whose best friend is moving away across the country. Now, a trope is not necessarily a bad thing, but if it is a very commonly used trope, you're going to have to be sure that you are doing it extremely well and that you are bringing something fresh and interesting to that trope. Tropes are not bad. They are tools, and you need to understand how to use them appropriately so that you do not come across as a cliche. All right. While her parents pack, they ship Tilde off to summer camp to help her adjust. When camp leads to a meltdown, she is sent to her mysterious Aunt Matilda's place, who's so mysterious she's missing. Okay, so we have Tilde is moving, but she's been sent to summer camp, but also she's been shipped off to her aunt's house. This feels like maybe too many steps of backstory here. So I would simplify this. I'm not entirely sure which piece we want to focus on just yet because I haven't gotten through the whole thing, but we probably want to shrink some of this down. While her parents are preparing to move across the country, she's been shipped off to her aunt's house, but her aunt is mysteriously not there. We can probably skip the summer camp piece. I think that's the one that we probably want to drop from this. While there, Tilde discovers a secret island accessible only by a low tide. And that is a nice, so when we open up with this type of character stuff up here, we want it to be tied to the story, and you have done that. Good job. So between looking for clues to her aunt's whereabouts, testing her survival skills, and resisting the lure of strange magic, she gets to know the island she plays. So I would break your paragraph here. She plays on sand dunes with otters, swims with sea lions, and makes friends with a lonely raccoon and a serious crow. But the island is more than a playground. It's dangerous, particularly for humans. Allies come in unusual shapes and sizes. Okay, so then I would break paragraph here, but the island is more than a playground. Allies come in unusual shapes and sizes: kelp, forest guardians, recluse, herons, and oceanic garbage creatures. Tilde has to make choices that test her knowledge of the natural world, her empathy, and her understanding of herself. Her journey takes her from enchanted caves to a driftwood labyrinth, and finally to the top of the island's mountain, where the source of the world's magic and a fateful meeting await. Just when she's starting to feel at home, she's put to the ultimate test. Can she love a place and let it go? This rhetorical question is not a bad one. This is better than a lot of the ones that I see here. But if you can reframe a rhetorical question as a statement without it sounding totally insane when you do so, I recommend doing so. So the test is, she will have to decide if she loves the place enough to let it go. She will have to decide between these two things. So rather, can she do this? She will have to decide if she will do this. So just rephrase that a little bit. This is a pretty good pitch. So let's talk about what is those 5 questions. So who's our main character? That is Tilde. What is it that she wants? That's not super clear in here. Is she trying to find her aunt? Is she relishing her last summer of freedom before her parents take her to the place she doesn't want to live? Not super, super clear what it is that she wants. So because that's not super clear, what is she willing to do to get it? She's willing to explore this dangerous island. She's willing to take on allies that seem unconventional. She is willing to go on this big quest. So we know what she's willing to do. We don't know why that's really tied to her goal because we don't know exactly what her goal is. What's standing in her way? That's the piece that now is really unclear. And then what happens if she fails? Also unclear. Now, because we're not totally clear on the goal, those last two pieces feel really nebulous. You've told me what she's willing to do. You have demonstrated that. And this is, by the way, this is a pretty good way of like doing some world building in a way that doesn't distract from the stakes. The world building here and the what is she willing to do to get it is the clearest piece of this query. You've done a good job of like demonstrating why this is dangerous, why this is magical. I would like to see it tied to her stakes in a way that feels really concrete and really understandable. All right, so then I want to look down here. Book would appeal to readers who enjoyed the adventure of Wildlore series, the empathy and self-acceptance of Anzu in the realm of darkness, and the flora and talking fauna of Greenwild. That's all great. It speaks to daydreamers with big feelings who are looking for belonging. So the looking for belonging is a really core element of middle grade, but because that goes by so fast and the rest of this is really like evocative, nice language, I'm going to let that slide because this daydreamers with big feelings. Oftentimes when people are like, this is a book for young adults who are trying to figure out who they are. Well, that's all of the young adults. This romance is for all of the women who are looking for love. That's all, right? Like sometimes when people say like, this is who this book is for, it's too broad. It's just like describing what the genre is. But daydreamers with big feelings is a specific type of kid. Not every kid is a daydreamer. Not every kid has big feelings that they can't control, and especially not both of those things together. You are using this pitch as a way to describe like the aesthetic of the book, and more importantly, it vibes really clearly with all of this and with the pitch that was up at the top. So I would like to see those stakes dialed in more clearly, and I don't think you have to do a lot to this in order to make that make sense. It really is like, what is it she wants? So if we dial in what her goal is, I think those other two pieces that currently feel a little flimsy are going to dial in pretty naturally. If you would like to submit information on how to do so is in my bio. It's in the link tree underneath the query critique submission button. If you don't want to do this publicly, I do have an editing business in which we will do 3 rounds of editing back and forth, and that will be private. If you do not want to wait for either of those lines, I will never get to all the free critiques that have been submitted here for these videos. And my query critique business is backed up by usually 8 to 10 weeks at a time. I have a class that you can teach yourself this process. It's $30 for 3.5 hours worth of content. It includes like etiquette questions while you are in the query trenches. It includes before and afters of clients who have gone on to sign with literary agents or with publishing houses. And it includes like a how-to process on writing a synopsis and editing your first 10 pages, making sure that the entire pitch package is ready to go for you. You can find that underneath the series button on TikTok or the collections button on Patreon. You do not have to be a paying member of Patreon to be able to buy that collection.